Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you are in the world, stop for a moment and listen carefully. What I am about to share with you may change the way you move, the way you feel, and the way you live the rest of your life. Please do not skip past this. The information I am about to give you is grounded in decades of clinical research, and it is information that most doctors will never speak about in a normal office visit. It is information that your family may not think to mention, and information that the typical health segment on television will never cover in enough depth to help you act on it. Here is something that almost no one ever says in plain language. Your legs are not weak because you are old. Your legs have grown weak because nobody ever told you what to feed them. Aging makes muscle loss easier, but aging does not make muscle loss required. The difference between those two facts is the difference between holding the railing for the rest of your life and walking down your front steps without a second thought. My name is Dr. Alan Mandell, and I have spent decades working with adults over 60 who want to rebuild what time has quietly taken from them. I have seen legs grow stronger in 90 days. I have seen balance return. I have seen people walk down their front steps without holding the rail, stand to cook dinner without grabbing the counter, and rise from an easy chair without pushing off the armrest. These are not miracles. They are the predictable result of feeding your muscles the building blocks they have been missing. Let me share with you right now why this matters so urgently. A landmark systematic review and meta-analysis published in the Journal of Cachexia, Sarcopenia and Muscle by Yeung and colleagues examined the relationship between sarcopenia and falls and fractures in older adults. Across the pooled studies, low muscle mass and low muscle function were consistently linked with a meaningfully higher risk of falling and breaking bones. In other words, muscle loss is not just a cosmetic concern. It is one of the dominant drivers of the falls that change an older person's life overnight. A single fall can rob an older adult of independence permanently. A single intervention, started early enough, can prevent that fall entirely. Now here is the part of today's video I want you to hold on to tightly. The number one food on this list is something you very likely already have in your kitchen right now. Researchers have begun to recognize it as one of the most powerful muscle-restoring foods available to humans over 60. I am going to save that food for last, because the sequence I am about to walk you through is built deliberately to convince you, item by item, that your muscles can still be fed. Before we begin, please do one thing for me. Leave a comment below telling me how old you are. Tell me whether you have noticed weakness getting out of a chair. Tell me whether you have started holding the railing going downstairs. I read every single comment on this channel every week, and your story matters to the work we do here. Let us get into it. Coming in at number 6 on this countdown, whole eggs. I know what you are thinking. You have heard the cholesterol warning for most of your life. You have been told to limit eggs, to skip the yolk, to choose egg whites instead. I am here to tell you that for adults over 60, that advice has caused more damage than the cholesterol it was meant to control. Whole eggs are one of the most complete single food sources of nutrition available to an aging body, and the yolk is the most valuable part of the egg, not the part to throw away. Think of an egg yolk as a small battery pack for your muscles. Inside that yolk you find vitamin D, vitamin B12, healthy fats your body uses to absorb those vitamins, and a nutrient called choline that protects the memory centers of your brain. When you eat a whole egg, you are feeding your muscles and helping your body actually absorb what you are feeding them. Layman and Rodriguez, writing in Nutrition Today, reviewed the evidence on egg protein and strength and noted that egg protein is a high-quality complete protein with a leucine content favorable for stimulating muscle protein synthesis. That is the fancy way of saying egg protein turns on muscle repair at the cellular level. But here is what eggs also do that almost nobody talks about, and this is one of the reasons I put them on the list. The choline in egg yolk has been linked in research to memory and cognitive function in older adults. The same breakfast that helps your legs also helps your mind. When you sit down to a plate of eggs in the morning, you are not just eating breakfast. You are feeding your muscles, your bones, your nerves, and your memory all at once. A composite illustration for typical outcomes we see. Think of a 71-year-old retired postal worker from a small town in Virginia named Gene. He had been skipping breakfast for years, drinking coffee on an empty stomach and saving his appetite for a heavy evening dinner. In roughly 6 weeks of eating 2 to 3 whole eggs most mornings, cooked gently in olive oil, he reported he could carry his grocery bags up the stairs without sitting down to rest on the landing. His daughter told our office she cried when she saw him walk her down the porch steps without holding the rail. His story is a composite, drawn from the pattern of response we see again and again, not the story of any one real patient. I share composite examples so the science feels real to you, and so you can picture the kind of change that is possible. The way to prepare eggs is simple. 2 to 3 whole eggs in the morning. Cook them gently, in olive oil, over low heat. Scrambled, soft-boiled, poached, however you enjoy them. Do not throw away the yolk. The yolk is the point. Do not pair eggs with sugary toast and jam if your goal is muscle. Pair them with vegetables, with whole grain toast, or with a piece of fruit. The eggs do the heavy lifting. Coming up at number 5, plain Greek yogurt. I know what you have been told about dairy. You may have heard that dairy thickens mucus, that it causes inflammation, that it is something to limit as you grow older. For most adults over 60, plain unsweetened Greek yogurt does the opposite of those things. In clinical studies, dairy protein has been associated with improvements in lean mass and physical function in older adults, not worsening of inflammation. Think of plain Greek yogurt as a slow-release fuel tank for your muscles. It carries nearly twice the protein of regular yogurt, with very little sugar, in a single small cup. That protein feeds your muscles steadily across several hours. It is convenient, it is affordable, it is portable, and most older adults tolerate it very well. The referenced evidence here is the Park and colleagues study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, looking at protein supplementation in frail older adults aged 70 to 85. Across the study period, the participants who added extra high-quality protein to their daily routine showed meaningful gains in lean muscle mass and physical function compared with the control group. Greek yogurt is one of the easiest ways for a senior to add that protein in a real edible form. But here is what Greek yogurt also does that almost nobody mentions, and this is the second reason it earned a spot on the list. Plain Greek yogurt carries natural probiotics that calm the gut and support digestion. A calmer gut means better absorption of every other food on this list. When your gut works well, your muscles get more of what you eat. When your gut is inflamed or imbalanced, even good food passes through without being fully used. A composite illustration. Think of a 68-year-old grandmother from Cincinnati named Margaret. She had been complaining that her knees felt hollow going up the stairs, like the strength had simply drained out of her legs. After roughly 8 weeks of 1 cup of plain, full-fat Greek yogurt with breakfast most days, along with a small handful of berries, she wrote to our office that she could garden again for a full hour without sitting down. Her story is a typical pattern, not a single real person. I share composites so you can imagine what is possible for someone like you. How to use Greek yogurt. 1 cup per day, plain, full-fat, with breakfast or lunch. Add berries if you like them. Sweeten only with a small amount of honey if you need it. Do not buy the sugary vanilla kind. The added sugar undoes the muscle work and stokes inflammation. The plain kind is the muscle food. Coming in at number 4, wild salmon, 3 times a week. I know fish can feel complicated, it can feel expensive, it can feel risky because of mercury, because of freshness, because of the bones, because of the smell. I am here to tell you that wild salmon, particularly canned wild salmon, is one of the single most powerful anti-inflammatory foods an older adult can add to their routine. Think of omega-3 fat as a bucket of cool water on a slow-burning fire. Your muscles, after 60, are smoldering in low-grade, quiet inflammation that most people never feel, but most people are slowly damaged by. That inflammation steals your strength, your balance, your energy, your mood, and your recovery after every walk or every climb up the stairs. What that means in plain English is that omega-3 fat helps put out the fire so your muscles can grow again and your joints can move without grinding. The body of omega-3 research in older adults is large. Published studies have linked regular consumption of oily fish and omega-3 fatty acids to better grip strength, to lower markers of systemic inflammation, and to slower declines in physical function over time. Grip strength in particular is one of the simplest, most reliable predictors of overall vitality in an older adult. A stronger grip predicts a longer independent life. But here is what salmon also does that almost nobody talks about. The omega-3 fats in salmon feed your heart rhythm, your brain mood, and your visual clarity at the same time that they feed your muscles. Stronger legs, calmer heart, steadier mind, all from one palm-sized portion of fish 3 times a week. A composite illustration. Think of a 74-year-old former teacher from Boise named Robert. He had grown afraid of falling in his own kitchen. Reaching for a high cabinet made him grip the counter. Standing at the stove made him brace against the wall. In roughly 10 weeks of eating canned wild salmon 3 times a week, baked or pan-seared with a little olive oil and lemon, he reported he could stand at the stove to cook a full meal without once touching the counter for balance. His story represents the pattern we see in older adults who add oily fish to their routine, not any one real person. How to enjoy salmon without stress, a palm-sized portion 3 times a week. Canned wild salmon is fine and far more affordable than fresh, as long as you rinse the salt before cooking. Do not deep fry it. Bake it, broil it, or pan-sear it with olive oil and lemon. If you don't enjoy salmon, sardines and mackerel offer similar omega-3 benefits and are often even more affordable. Coming in at number 3, plain whey protein, the unflavored kind. I know many of you think protein powder is for bodybuilders. You may think it is unsafe, or fake, or unnecessary, or only for athletes under 40. I am here to tell you, after 60, food alone rarely gives your muscles what they need to fully recover, and that is because of a well-described phenomenon researchers call anabolic resistance. Your muscles become less responsive to the same amount of protein as you age. You need more protein, distributed more carefully, to get the same growth signal you used to get from a single dinner. Think of leucine, the key amino acid in whey, as the key that starts the engine of muscle repair. After 60, your engine needs a louder key to even turn over. That is what a small scoop of plain whey provides. Published randomized controlled trials in older adults, many of which were conducted at research institutions including Tufts University, have shown that whey protein supplementation, when combined with light resistance activity, produces meaningful gains in lean muscle mass and strength compared with placebo. Morton and colleagues, publishing in the British Journal of Sports Medicine, conducted a large meta-analysis of protein supplementation combined with resistance training in healthy adults and found consistent positive effects on muscle mass and strength, with protein quality and dose influencing the response. But here's what whey also does that almost nobody talks about, and this is a powerful second benefit. Whey protein helps your immune system produce new defense cells. Older adults frequently experience immune decline that makes infections more dangerous and more frequent. The same scoop that wakes up your muscles also wakes up your immune surveillance, helping protect you from the infections that often send seniors to the hospital after a minor cold or small cut. A composite illustration. Think of a 66-year-old retired mechanic from Sarasota named Frank. His doctor had told him his legs were simply old, that nothing meaningful could be done. In roughly 9 weeks of one small whey shake after a short daily walk, Frank reported he could rise from his easy chair without using his arms for the first time in years. That is the kind of change that comes from feeding the muscle consistently. How to use whey: 20 to 30 grams of plain whey, unflavored, mixed with water or milk, once a day. The best time to take it is within an hour after a short walk, after light resistance work, or after any physical activity. Do not buy fancy flavors loaded with sugar or artificial sweeteners. Plain is the whole point. Now we arrive at one of the most important ideas on this entire list, and it is not a single food, it is a habit. Coming in at number 2, the single most common mistake seniors make with protein, and the fix. Most adults over 60 eat their protein at supper, in one large piece of chicken or one large piece of beef. That pattern is exactly backwards for muscle preservation. Think of protein like a small fire that needs fresh wood every few hours. A single huge log burns out fast and leaves you cold. 3 smaller logs spaced across the day keep a steady flame burning. Your muscles work exactly the same way. They grow best when they receive a steady supply of protein building blocks across the day, not one large load once a day. The classical reference here is the work of Mamero and colleagues, and the follow-up research by Arita and Burke, showing that even distribution of protein intake across daily meals produces a greater muscle protein synthesis response than the typical Western pattern of loading protein at dinner. While the precise magnitude of the response varies across studies, the principle is well established. Adults over 60 benefit from approximately 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein at each of 3 meals, instead of concentrating their intake at one evening meal. Kim and colleagues, publishing in Clinical Nutrition, ran a randomized intervention in older adults and reinforced the importance of total daily protein adequacy. But here is what spreading protein also does that almost nobody talks about. It steadies your blood sugar across the day. Steadier blood sugar means steadier energy, steadier mood, and steadier afternoon focus. Stronger legs come from a calmer brain, and the two are connected more tightly than most people realize. A composite illustration. Think of a 72-year-old widow from Portland named Helen. She ate almost no breakfast and a heavy meat dinner most nights, then napped through the afternoon and felt foggy around 4 o'clock every day. In roughly 8 weeks of moving a small portion of her protein to her morning meal, adding Greek yogurt and a few eggs to her breakfast, she wrote to us that she no longer needed her afternoon nap and her balance on the stairs felt sharper. Her experience illustrates how the daily distribution of protein matters as much as the total amount. How to apply this habit. Aim for 25 to 30 grams of protein at each of 3 meals. The simplest version is 3 eggs at breakfast, Greek yogurt at lunch, fish or poultry at dinner. Adjust the portions for your size and your doctor's guidance. Do not try to get it all from one meal. Your muscles cannot store it the way fat cells store fat. Your muscles need steady inputs. Now we have arrived at the number 1 muscle-restoring food on this entire list, the one I told you at the beginning I would save for last. It is a food that is in your kitchen right now, or it is a food you can buy today at any grocery store. The food is old-fashioned cottage cheese. Researchers at the University of Illinois and other institutions studying dairy proteins have called cottage cheese one of the most powerful muscle-restoring foods available to humans over 60, specifically because of the kind of protein it contains. That protein is called casein. Casein is a slow-digesting protein. Think of casein as a time-release capsule for your muscles. Whey protein gives you a quick burst of muscle-building signal that lasts roughly an hour or 2. Casein works differently. A small bowl of cottage cheese before bed feeds your muscles gently for 6 to 7 hours through the night. The published evidence here is most directly from Kouw and colleagues, publishing in the Journal of Nutrition, who ran a randomized controlled trial showing that casein protein ingestion before sleep increases overnight muscle protein synthesis rates in healthy older men. But here is what cottage cheese also does that almost nobody talks about, and this is one of my favorite reasons to recommend it. Cottage cheese carries calcium in a form your bones absorb very well, and it carries vitamin B12 that protects your nerves. That means the same small bowl before bed is mending your muscle, your bone, and your nerve cover in one quiet step. While you sleep, your body is doing maintenance work. Cottage cheese gives that maintenance work the raw materials it needs. A composite illustration. Think of an 81-year-old retired nurse from a small town in Georgia named Louise. She had become afraid of her nighttime trip to the bathroom. The hallway felt long and the floor felt slippery. In roughly 7 weeks of a small bowl of plain cottage cheese before bed, she told our office she had stopped gripping the hallway wall, and her daughter said she cried when she heard the news. Her experience represents the pattern we see when older adults combine daily protein improvements with better overnight protein, not any one single real person. How to use cottage cheese: 1/2 cup to 1 cup of plain cottage cheese, low fat or full fat, depending on your doctor's advice, right before bed. Add a small handful of berries or a teaspoon of honey if you like. Do not buy the high sugar fruit blended kind. The added sugar undoes the muscle work. Now let me put it all together for you in the simplest possible way. Eat 2 to 3 whole eggs most mornings, cooked gently with the yolk. Add 1 cup of plain Greek yogurt most days, with berries or honey if you want. Eat a palm-sized portion of wild salmon 3 times a week, or sardines or mackerel if you prefer. Use a small scoop of plain whey protein after your daily walk or after any light strength work. Spread 25 to 30 grams of protein across each of your 3 meals instead of loading it all onto dinner. Finish your day with a small bowl of plain cottage cheese before bed. That is the full system. That is the daily rhythm that clinical research supports. If this information has already opened your eyes to something you did not know, please hit the like button right now. The like button tells YouTube to share this video with more seniors who need it. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Every week I bring you clinically grounded, practical information designed specifically for adults who want to live stronger, longer, and on their own terms. Tell me in the comments which of these 6 you are going to try first. Tell me how your legs have been feeling. Tell me your story, because this channel exists for you, not in the abstract, but for you specifically. Before we close, I want to leave you with one final thought. You were not built to become a passenger in your own life. You were not meant to hold the railing going downstairs. You were not meant to fear the hallway at night. That is not the destiny written into your biology. That is a consequence of information never being shared with you in time, and it is a consequence that today can be reversed. Today we gave you the information. 6 foods, 6 small habits, 1 new direction. Take 1 step. Pick 1 item on this list. Start tomorrow morning. Then add the 2nd. Then the 3rd. 6 small changes in 6 weeks will change how you move for the rest of your life. I am Dr. Alan Mandell. I will see you in the next one. Please share this video with someone you love. It might be the most important share of the year.